whatever you call it, true self, authentic self, aligned nature, my centered place, my best self, whatever the word is, what values do you connect with this very empowered, honest part of you? Kind. Okay, I just gave you some values. Forget my values. Write down your own. And you can just write them right into that Word doc. And then if you want to share them in the chat, we benefit from hearing each other's values that give us strengths, that give us individual resources. When we read what others are, even if they're not ours, it's like as a group, we're creating this container of empowering values. And the cool thing about reading other people's higher self values is it gives you a lot of ideas of what your client's higher self values might be that are totally different than yours. So I'm just going to keep chatting as you do your work, okay? Because I'm one of those people that if like no one's talking at the dinner table, I just start talking nervously. So while you do your work now, I'm going to just chat a little bit about this. And there I got a great one came in from Catherine. Truth, share and kind, loving, honest, caring, non-judgmental, compassion, patience. And so what I'd like is for each of you to have your top 3 or 4 written down. And one thing I want to demonstrate is how like a coach, let's say a coach's higher self values are kindness, generosity, and sensitivity. Okay, that's the coach's top values. And let's say their clients' higher self values are humor, action taking, knowledge. Very different higher self values, right? And guess what? They're both perfect. So as coaches, we don't have to change or want to change our clients' higher self values. Now, if a client were to say, well, my higher self value is to dominate the world. I want to dominate the world. we might take a moment of pause and kind of see if we could explore some more higher self values. So it's not like, you know, it's not that you never would see if there's some other values. Of course you would. If the person associated with some real negative values, you would want to explore and find more empowering values. But they don't have to be yours. This is why we are able to coach clients from totally different cultures, traditions, religions, because we respect the person's values and their path. Okay, wonderful. So I am seeing so many, I'm sure you are too. Read through the chat now. Grounded, patience, connection, adventure, honesty, fun, love, kindness, positivity, resourcefulness, empathy, understanding, intelligence, action-oriented, strategic, honesty. I'm trying not to repeat. Laughter, kindness. Wonderful, wonderful. So great question. So how do we switch them to a more positive outlook and value? So one of the kind of segues I often do is to validate what they've said is really important to them. So let's say a person shared a value of like, well, I really want to succeed and be the best. And that means I'm always in a state of competition. And they might say, I don't know if that's a value, but I feel like I'm always pushing to compete. And that's really my truth. So we want to acknowledge that, recognize it, and say, okay, so that's really important to you and really valid. So let's just take a moment to honor that as a really important value you have. But I'm wondering if we look even deeper at what's underneath that desire for success and competition and to beat out others, to kind of win the race. What's underneath that? What kind of speaks from your place before you even knew anything about what success was? What comes from that kind of, if the person's open to language, like soul level value? What would be a soul level value? And so if we use a word like soul level, it usually points a person to something deeper than something that might sound more negative. Now, if they can't get to it, don't make them wrong. Just honor them. And I might use some language like, I believe that there is great goodness in your wish to succeed. And maybe we could imagine for a moment, when you succeed, all the goodness you will create for yourself and others. So what I've just done is elevate their need for success into goodness. There's great goodness there. Now, I personally have made the choice not to work with people who lie, commit crimes. I've had a client before tell me about a crime they committed. And I called my lawyer as soon as I got off the phone. I stayed very peaceful and non-judgmental and listened. And then I immediately called my lawyer, like, what do I do now? And that's another story for another day. But basically, I chose not to work with that person. And so if someone's values are really not aligned with our own, then it's absolutely fine to refer them to another coach. So you don't have to work with people ever that you think are coming from a negative or, you know, a place of harming them, the world in any way. I would like everyone to fill out this document. I don't know if you don't have to necessarily send it to us, but you're going to use it later this morning in about 20 minutes as you share with another student. Okay, so do fill this out. But now we're going to go to the next part. We're taking it slow. So you got to that place of your values. So let's just take a moment to honor your top 3 values internally. And here's where we're going to do a little mini meditation. So just breathe in as you imagine that value, one of those values, and exhale with that value. And so take 3 breaths with 3 of your top higher self values. And now notice, what emotions, if any, do you sense as you breathe with your values? What emotions show as supporters to these higher self values? And if it was hard to think of values, that's okay. See if there are some emotions. And maybe for you, the emotions and the values are the same thing. So there's no right or wrong. There's just your way of sensing this. If you feel your higher self more as a physical experience, like a line in the body, or like an expanded heart, or like the ocean, then just notice, how can I translate that experience into emotions or values? And just be with that for a moment. What feelings come that support your true self at that deepest level, that soul level? And take a moment to write down what the emotions are, and they may surprise you. You know, it doesn't have to be what you thought it would be. And share in the chat what the emotion is, or the several emotions. It might be more than one. It might be the exact same word as your value. Or also, don't worry if you felt a kind of tender sadness. Sometimes when we go to that deeper level, like kind of what supports our value, there can be a truth that feels almost like trying to find the right word that doesn't sound too negative. I would say tenderness, that can have a woeful quality or a sadness. And this is often experienced by people also in today's world, because there's a lot of suffering out there. So sometimes when we connect to our higher self, or at that soul level, we can feel different emotions because we're expanding out in a unity kind of connection, and there is great suffering. So emotional to the point of tears. Wow, that is, yeah, beautiful. And it's okay to cry all you want today, okay? Tears and laughter both are a form of well, they're whatever they are for you, but often they're talked about as a kind of cleansing and releasing of what's needed to release. So duty, joy of life, peace, beautiful, love, compassion, calm, wonder, vulnerability, curiosity. Yeah. And if you're someone who doesn't notice emotions a lot, see what else you notice. Just notice, is there like a wiggliness in me, or is there like a settling, or is there like an expanding? Some people are very kinesthetic experiencers versus emotional. So just honor that about yourself and write down whatever you got to as you breathed with your value, or do it right now. And we'll go on to the next part. And I love it that someone wrote happy sadness. Absolutely. Emotions are multidimensional. They're not flat. So just notice if there's ways right now that you can imagine these values and emotions and sensations of any kind that you've experienced assisting you as a coach. How do you imagine those assisting you as a coach? And if you were working with a client, let's say on a parenting goal, you might do this same process with them and ask, how will this higher self assist you as a dad or as a mom? Beautiful. Yeah. And imagine you're in a coaching session and for some reason you're hesitating or you're unsure. And then just imagine you connect to your higher self through your values, through your emotions. You take a deep breath and notice the way you can imagine now serving your client. Beautiful, beautiful shares here, guys. I just jumped on one phrase there, wisdom that doesn't come from my personality. Feeling more grounded. Putting yourself in the client's shoes. Calmly navigate. I love all the words, by the way. I'm just grabbing the little phrases that jump out at me. Help me hold their space for them. Centered, patient. Yeah. Creative thinking beyond my conscious thinking. Okay. I'm just going to use this chat thread to describe what we're trying to do in activation method coaching. Okay. Because this is basically getting to it. What you're saying is exactly what I think really the best coaching does. It's coming from this place, and this is how we serve our clients. So, what about a place in your body that helps you feel this? I mean, I immediately put my hand on my heart, but for someone else, it might be hand on top of their head, or they give themselves a hug, or they stand up and they go, woohoo! Or their lower belly. Yeah, I see that, Deborah. Yeah, do the little shake out. Maybe you imagine doing somersaults or cartwheels or something else, surfing, and you bring that to, where is that in my body? That thing that connects me physically with these values and emotions. Where can I connect that in? If you don't have a place you naturally go to, just find one now. And if it's really hard for you, and for a client it's really hard, and some people like this, some people don't. I like the tapping on the sternum as a reminder of higher self. Some people like the tapping on the forehead. Some people don't like tapping at all, so they'd rather just, a firm hand or somewhere else. So just really feeling into what feels right to you. For whatever reason, I'm being shown this. I think of my daughter. I have a daughter who's always doing this. So, and that is making that connection between the values. What I think of that values happen a lot more kind of on the mental, in a sense, than the emotions on the feeling, and then the physical. We're bringing our higher self into our embodied experience. And with a client, we might get up and stretch and move as we do that to kind of really embody it more fully, or do some connecting with the fingertips, the mudras. And you don't have to be into yoga to do that or anything. Okay. So take a nice deep breath. Go to that place in your body, bring your values for your higher self, the emotions that surround and fill you and support you in connecting to that higher self. And as you breathe fully, really feel that in your body, tapping or massaging, or just placing a hand, or simply your awareness there. It might not involve any touch, just bringing your awareness to the body, maybe a part of the body, maybe the whole body, maybe the breath. Your way of connecting to your higher self is always the best way. So this is a really deep honoring of your own truth. Now let's invite, in this more meditative state, staying within yourself. Don't write anything right now. If you can, close your eyes and invite any symbols, images, places in nature, activities, any other information from any of your senses, songs, sounds, gestures, people, places, animals, anything that helps you in this connection with your higher self, that when you imagine it, it brings you a little closer, a little bit more in contact with your own truth, so that you can more easily rest with that. It could be a very easy symbol, like an oval or a triangle, or it could be something from nature, like a lake. Whatever it is, a sound, a note, a whole melody, a pop song. And take a minute now to write that down. Write down what shows up for you right now today. You're not stuck with this. It won't always be this way, but right now today, when you open up your senses and your imagination, what feels the most connected to your higher self, your true self? And you might invite yourself to ask, if there were a place in nature that would be the place that my higher self feels the most at home, what would that place be? Or a shape, or a color, or a sound, or even a person or an animal. And sometimes if we receive people or animals, they may be kind of from our family ancestry, or from our religion, or from another kind of path we're involved with. And that's perfect. Just write it down. That's what's valid for you. And are there times in your life outside of coaching where your higher self will serve you to connect with it? It's always serving you, right? It's always there somewhere. But to connect with it, what times in your day-to-day life would it be very helpful for you personally, or for others in your life? So like, you might just think of the day, like, is there a time in the morning or the evening, or is it around a certain activity, a certain thing like sleeping, eating, checking email? Would it help you when you read the news or look at the news? Would your higher self help you when you're with a specific person? So just see what comes. And this is sort of like an invitation, actually, for that part of you that is the most aligned and true to be able to serve you. It's like an invitation to say, hey, you can help me with this thing that I need to do every day, like going to sleep or whatever it is. And this is really important as coaches when we're working with a client, because often people don't know how to connect to resources. They feel very without, like exhausted of possibility. And so if they learn, when are those moments that I feel sort of like I'm floating alone, or I don't know what's next, and they have a way to connect with that most truthful part of themselves, it gives them the kind of pause they need to then be able to call in their resources more, or to take a break and say it's okay to take a nap now, or to take a walk. I don't have to jump into this. I can give myself 5 minutes. And so there are times in the day when it's easiest to connect to the higher self. For some people, that's right when they wake up. For some people, it's when they meditate or jog or do something. But when do you really need it? When do you need it in your day? Like, I need it at 5 or 6 p.m. That's my burnout time. That's like, yeah, that's just the way my energy runs. By 5 or 6, I feel pretty depleted. And if I connect with my higher self at that time, I'm going to make a much better choice for self-care. So write something down, because you're about to use that information. Now, the last question. Let's again close our eyes. This will be about 2 minutes. And just take some nice deep breaths, bringing in your higher self values, bringing in your emotions that support you in being really aligned and empowered and centered within your higher self. If there's a song or an image, if there's a time of day that you know it's easier, or a place in nature, you're just really bringing yourself right now into the atmosphere of the experience of your higher self. Whether you feel it or not, it's okay either way, but you're inviting it. And now just invite your creative mind, your intuition, to show you what would a higher self teacher or guide in yourself, within your own imagination, how would they appear? What would they look like, or talk like, or sound like, or move like, or be like? And just notice whatever you get. It can be kind of funny, it can be deep, it can come from one of your traditions, it can be random, but just invite your creative mind now to give you this sense of a higher self teacher or guide. And just notice what comes. And it's okay, whatever shows up, just write that down for yourself when you're ready. And if anyone wants to open their eyes now and share in the chat, if you got any kind of higher self teacher or guide sort of idea came to you from your own creative mind. And if some of you have done my higher self meditation journey, you can see how this is a little bit of a different process, a different way in to the same information. Greek goddess. Beautiful, beautiful. My dad, wise, loving, a fairy angel, soft breeze with hair flowing. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. And I'm kind of called to share this. Sometimes the metaphor of a North Star, like a guiding star or light, can be really helpful to clients, just to say, if you were to imagine kind of a North Star, whatever that means to you, that helps you connect with your own truth. What's that like to just imagine that North Star? If they're not getting any sense of a teacher or guide inside of them, that can be, I think, a lovely metaphor, or just a color that kind of helps you embrace that higher self. So we're just really looking for metaphors here. For some people, these guides or teachers will really be inner spiritual teachers or guides. It might be Jesus, it might be Buddha, it might be Virgin Mary, it might be there's so many. It might be some kind of angelic or mythical. And so that's totally true for some. And I always validate and embrace that. And that's totally not true for some. That won't be their experience. And that won't be something they want to explore. And that's totally valid too. So we just let go of that and we come back more to the values, the place in nature, the emotions, colors, symbols. Sometimes the North Star kind of works. So you see how there's so much flexibility here.